What is it about building beings on cliffs that makes it so mesmerizing and horrifying all at the same time? I'm not sure if I'd want to be living hanging off a cliff. A lot of people get thrilled by this. The view of these houses are insane. Yeah, I get it. I understand it. But there's no way that I could sleep at night knowing that at any moment my house can just fall off. I mean, imagine living on the edge of the Grand Canyon. Yeah, no thanks. How's it going, you guys? I'm your host for this one, Landon Do Not Sing, and welcome back to another Most Amazing Top 10 video. Do you guys think that you would be able to live in a house that hangs off a cliff? Well, you know what? Let me know where in the world you guys live. Sound off in the comment section below. Me, I'll go first. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and there's no houses hanging off cliffs here. I don't think so. All right, so if you guys are new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell notification bell so that way you guys will be notified as soon as we make a top 10 video. Let's just get started into this one. This is the top 10 scary houses on cliffs. Starting us off like we always do, and at number 10 we have the Cliff House Ghost. So not only you're dealing with your house on the edge of a cliff, but you're also dealing with the house ghost. I mean, talk about bad luck. What used to be a towering mansion overhanging a cliff in San Francisco now sits a popular restaurant. But although the original building is no longer there, legend has it that a woman who spent a lot of time near the property still is. She's still haunting the place. Well, the ghost was named Natalie Selena Harrison. Well, she was apparently waiting for her loved one to return from sea and decided to wait on a small rock island just in front of the cliff house. As all these stories go, he never returned. Legend has it that he died, turned to stone, and is now the statue that is on the island. Her ghost will make herself known on nights with bad weather and attempt to lure men to the island. Scariest of all, well, to me at least, is that the statue actually does contain DNA of Natalie. If all of this happened 100 years ago, wouldn't all the DNA on the surface be washed away? So how is that even possible? Next up, number 9 is Cooper Canyon. This one isn't technically a house, but it looks too precarious for me to not include it on this list. Well, this restaurant, while still in its conceptual stages, it overlooks the Basacerchic Falls in Mexico. Plus, it has a glass floor. I don't know about you guys, but I'd find it a little bit difficult grabbing food, ordering dinner and looking down into like the abyss, the 246-meter abyss. Filling the number 8 spot on this list, we have the Venus Castle. It's located in Italy. And yes, castles are houses too. People lived there. This castle sits at almost 2,500 above sea level, nestled on the edge of a cliff. Fun fact for you guys, the spot where it sits was actually the site of the Temple of Venus, owned by Greek-Roman mythological hero Aeneas. The castle itself was built in the 1600s, and people who visited it seen chains and shackles from its original dungeons. But it was also used as a prison in World War II. I can't even imagine being shackled up in a dungeon, but especially not in the times as recent as the mid-1900s. I thought shackles in dungeons and castles were only used like hundreds of years ago, not in the mid-1900s. Coming at number 7 is the Dragon House. This next one has been dubbed the Dragon House for a good reason. Throughout the house are giant dragon carvings built into the house itself, including 2 at the front entrance. It is located on the edge of a cliff in Big Sur, California. And it contains, in addition to a bunch of dragons, a massive stone fire, stained glass windows, and of course breathtaking ocean views. I guess the house itself isn't scary. A lot of Khaleesi types find dragons cool, but I don't know about that. Having a house filled with dragon sounds, it would be pretty unsettling to me. And imagine we live in a world right now where dragons were real. I mean, why not? We have a virus taking out the world and these massive killer bees that no one ever knew existed. So what if dragons actually exist? Next up, number 6 is the Clingstone house, located on an island in Jonestown. This house is over 10,000 square feet and about 115 years old. The original owner built it out of spite when his house was seized by the government at the end of the 1800s. So even back then, yeah, the government was screwing you. Before building the home, he said, I'm gonna build a home where no one can bother me. So this is what he did. Both the owner and his wife lived there their whole lives until their deaths in 1931 and 1941 respectively. This house isn't officially haunted, and to my knowledge, no tragic events took place there. At least no one's talking about it. Taking the middle spot on this list at number 5, we have Dunluce Castle. This castle was built in the early 1500s, and it has a pretty busy history. After attracting the attention of both Christians and the Vikings, there was a village surrounding it in the 1600s that unfortunately burnt down. In the mid 1600s, the castle's kitchen even broke off from the rest of the building and plummeted into the water. Is this real life right now? See, I told you, this is why a house on a cliff is a bad idea. This person's kitchen fell off the cliff and into the ocean. Imagine doing dishes and then boom, you're falling like you're on a roller coaster ride all of a sudden. Imagine being on a roller coaster ride and you had no idea. You just woke up one day and bam. Well, over 200 years later, a colony ship sank after hitting the rocks below and 240 lives were lost, with all of those fires and sinking ships accounting for hundreds of lives. I can't even imagine what sort of upset spirits roam the castle today. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention the official website of the castle even mentions a banshee sighting. I mean, there's a lot going on at this Irish castle. Next up, we have Castle Brutal. Okay, I don't speak Spanish, but I think the name translates to brutal house. This one began as a concept in 2015, so one of our more recent ones, but when the internet took a hold of it and made it go viral, developers decided to make it a real thing. I kid you not. So this house technically isn't on a cliff, but it is in a cliff. 3 of the 4 walls are surrounded by dense rock, and the 4th wall overlooks the Aegean Sea. I don't know though, it doesn't exactly seem very, homey to me, but I'll let you guys be the judge of this one. Would you guys live there? Our number 3 spot goes to Arava Castle, built in the middle of the 1200s. This castle sits 112 meters up on the top of the Slovakian cliff, boosting impressive weapon room, a torture chamber. There is no doubt in my mind that some horrible injustices happened there. Injustices, is that even a word? Well, you know what, we're running with that one, because in the 1200s I bet you the English wasn't as good as it is now, and my English, it's not the greatest. And to add to this castle's creepy aurora, it was the location of the 1922 silent film Nosferatu. And at number 2 we have Cliff's Edge, Australia. This house is still just a concept, but I won't be surprised if it became a real-life architectural feat soon. This house doesn't have any scary history or anything. The design of it looks like if Vertigo were a house. The home sits on top of a cliff, but it was literally built into the face of the cliff, clinging on for dear life with a few support beams. I mean, that doesn't sound good to me. It apparently is intended to be a natural extension of the cliff, so not to disturb the landscape. Sitting at 5 stories, every view of the house overlooks the ocean. Listen, I understand how appealing this could be to a lot of people, but it just seems so dangerous. And finally, number 1 spot, we have the hanging houses. These houses are located in Spain and apparently date back over 500 years ago. They hang 950 meters above the sea level, literally overhanging a cliff. The 3 remaining hanging houses are now occupied by a restaurant and an art gallery. And hold on, let's go back for a second. I just said this house was 500 years old and it's hanging off a cliff. Those beams or bolts or screws, whatever is used to fasten that house to that cliff, 500 years worth of like decay. I don't know how strong that house still is. Well, there you guys have it. That was the top 10 scary houses on cliffs. Which one made you freak out the most? I know all of them just freak me the hell out. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I was your host, Landon. Do not scare me, and I will see you guys all in the next most amazing top 10 video.